Hey everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Today's beer comes from Deep Ellum Brewing Company. This is their IPA. This was sent to me by Brandon. These guys are out of Dallas, Texas, and he sends me a lot of Texas beers that I cannot get here in Virginia. So Brandon, thanks a bunch for sending those Texas beers this way. I do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this. These guys do some pretty tasty beers. So hopefully this will be a top-notch beer. We're going to find out here in a minute or so. Commercial description on this one. This is a 7%er, guys. Says on Rate Beer that it's 70 IBUs. Our year-round ode to the Pacific Northwest hop. And we usually those are really pungent West Coast style hops, guys. We like hops, but we like American hops most of all. Here we use some of our absolute favorites, however they might not be used like you might expect. By using varieties with high alpha acid contents, which means more potential for bitterness, and using them in ways to emphasize the flavor and aromas, we can render a rather bitter ale with over-the-top tropical fruit, citrus, pine, floral, and even more hop-derived aroma and flavor. Style: American-style IPA, Citra, Amarillo, Chinook, Palisade, and Summit. The malts are pale ale, Vienna, honey, and wheat yeast English ale. So that's the hops and the yeast that they've used on this particular one. So food pairings for this is going to be your typical IPA food pairings. Cuisine is curried in Thai. The cheeses are peppery, pepper jack, Monterey, sharp, cheddar, your stronger cheeses of course. And the meat is poultry, fish, shellfish, and salmon. And I always add grilled meat to that because everything off the grill goes good with a nice IPA. Glass for the pint, Becker Knight, tumbler mug, Stein Seidel. I'm using my favorite glass, a solid beer glass, and it's an IPA, so don't sell all these beers, guys. Drink them as fresh as you can get them. And this one has a 042116, so that was when it was put in a can. So, and I'm doing this on the 4th of June, so about 6 weeks old. So, right in the mid-range there for an IPA. So, let's get it into the glass here and see what we get. Looks like it's going to pour a big frothy head. I shouldn't have put it quite so aggressive to start off. I'm going to try to get, this is a 12-ounce can, so we're going to try to get it all in the glass. Got a big frothy head on that. Good 2 fingers of head on that pour over to the light. Kind of cloudy up here in the big bowl part. I can see some light through the bottom part. It is a rich copper color. Great looking beer for an IPA. 7%er, not too big, not up to the double or imperial IPA standards. Nice creaminess on top. There are some big bubbles from an aggressive pour. About half and half on the side, big bubbles and small bubbles. So let's get a nose on this one. Very nice hop aroma. I am getting some malts in the nose. A nice pininess, some floral hops too, and some grapefruit, some tropical fruit notes in there, maybe some mango and some maybe some tangerine and oranges. Good smelling beer, it really is. Definitely pick up on it now. It's not up to the massive, up in your face, piney grapefruit, all that. It's a little more subdued than that, but for a Texas beer, it smells pretty good. Not quite to the massive West Coast style like a lot of them do out there, and even some of the East Coast breweries are starting to do those West Coast styles now and doing a good job of it too. Smells pretty good. It's time. Let's give it a hit and see what we got. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Brandon. Thank you. Very nice. Very tasty. The hops are definitely there. A nice presence of some light pine, citrusiness in there. And they use quite a few hops according to what they say here. Amarillo, Citra, Chinook, Palisade, and Summit. So it's got a lot of hops in it. But it does have a nice maltiness to the back end there to balance out some of that hop. Very tasty. A nice, I'm not going to say West Coast style or East Coast style. It's a nice, what I say, Midwest style. So a little bit of both worlds, if you will. Definitely a tasty, and from the description, with them using the high alpha hops in there, I was expecting to be kind of on the bitter side, but it's not too bad. Of course, I'm a hophead. If this is the first IPA you were drinking, it may be a little on the bitter side with 70 IBUs, but it's not like it's 90 or 100, which a lot of your single IPAs like this one are not that high. Once you get into your doubles, when they add all those extra malts, and they have to kick it up a notch or two, and add more hops and more bittering, so it's not too sweet. So, very nice. But 70 IBUs, not for the faint of heart. If you're trying this for the first time, it's probably going to be a little more on the bitter side than you probably like. You would probably want to try to do something in the 50 to 60 IBUs instead of a 70 or bigger. So. But very tasty to me. Well, it's right out of the fridge. Let me take it back and let her sip 2 or 3, whatever she likes. And I'll sip on this one for a little bit. And we'll come back and see what this one is. Pretty impressive. Texas is doing some really tasty stuff. They really are. And I appreciate Brandon taking the time to purchase these and send them to me. Thank you, Brandon. I do appreciate it. I'll be right back, guys. Let's see where this one ends up. Alright, guys, I'm back. I've been sipping on this about 30 minutes or so. Very tasty beer. And it's got the date on the bottom of it, guys, and that's thumbs up to those guys for doing that, so we know when it was put in the can, not a Best Buy or an Enjoy by date. But there's always a but, and those buts are kind of stinky sometimes. Needs to have the ABV on the can. It's not written on the can anywhere. You have no idea how big a beer or what the ABV is when you buy this. And of course, without the ABV, it doesn't have the IBUs. So unless you got a smartphone and you check Beer Advocate or Rate Beer or whatever, or their website, you don't know what the ABV is, the IBUs are on an IPA. And I kind of would like to see the IBUs. A lot of them don't do that. And sometimes it changes from year to year. Maybe they're using the same cans over and over and over and over again with the same graphic and stuff on it. So maybe that's why they're not putting that on there. But still, for me to purchase an IPA off the shelf, single, one at a time, it's got to have the ABV written on it. And having the date is a plus, no doubt. And with that being on there, I do think it's an A beer. But I'm reserving the final judgment until I do the final sip. The other half liked it. It's a little more malty than your typical IPA, in my opinion. And it's not old, it's only 6 weeks old, so to me it resembles more of an East Coast / English style. But there are some nice pininess in there, and hence a little bit of grapefruit and tropical notes, which you're not going to get from an English style usually. But it's a very well made beer. Just would like to see that ABV, or if you're drinking it in a pub or a bar somewhere. You want to know what you're drinking, what the ABV is. I mean, am I having a 5%, am I 7%? Exactly what am I having here? Because sometimes you can get into trouble if you don't know what you're drinking, and you think you're drinking a 5 or a 6, maybe even a 7%, and it's an 8, 9, even a 10%. So that's going to have an effect, especially if you're having more than one. So we'd like to see that on the can. So let's do the final chug here. Very nice. It's a very nice beer. Very nice balance between the hops and the malt on this one. It's not overly malty and it's not overly hoppy. Definitely not a West Coast style. I mean, it's not got that up in your face pine, pineapple, grapefruit taste. A nice balance between them. So, no ABV on the can. I would like to see that. If I was purchasing this or drinking it in a bar, I would like to know what I'm drinking. But a lot of times they'll have it on the board up there, especially in a craft beer place, of what the ABV is on the beer that you're buying or drinking. So, but if you're buying it at a store, you have no idea unless you get your smartphone out and start checking before you make that purchase. This is what I'd like to see, guys. That's just me, just my OCD. Very tasty. To me, guys, I do think it's an A beer. It doesn't say West Coast style or anything like that on there where you're expecting a great big hop presence. A nice balance between them. Other than the IBUs being 70, it would be a good introductory IPA. But for somebody that's expecting a little more hop profile or something like that, it's not quite got that. So, but I do think it's a well-made beer. I am going to give it to 8 because it does have the date on the bottom of the can, and would probably even give it a 9 if we could get a little more information, IBUs and ABV on the can. But very well made. Definitely a tasty beer. Definitely worth picking up. And I would buy this if I could get it here if it had a little more information on the can, like at least the ABV. IBUs sometimes aren't that critical, but the more information you put on the can, the better decision you can make when you purchase this beer. So, and the states are different. If it's not required, a lot of times they don't put stuff like that on there, or if they're reusing the can and the recipe's changing or the ABV's changing from year to year, another reason they wouldn't want to put it on the can. So, I'd like to see it though. Being an IPA, more information you got, the better decision you can make. So, if I was putting a numeric rating on this beer, guys, it'd probably be about a 90. So it's just, to me, it's just barely getting into the A category without that information. Over to Beer Advocate, they say 90, outstanding, so we're in perfect harmony there. It is an outstanding beer. But, like I said, not blowing my hair back or my socks off or anything. 90 is what I would give it also. Over to Rate Beer. Rate Beer says overall 96 and 95 in style. And those numbers, usually at that side, are a little more generous than you're going to get from Beer Advocate. So, I think 96 is a very generous number. A little over generous to me. Just my opinion, though. The fresher this beer would be, the more hop profile you're going to get. Even at 6 weeks, the hops have faded just a little bit. So if this beer was a week or 2 old, it may have a stronger hop presence than what I'm getting at 6 weeks old. So to me, that's in the mid-range of its shelf life. Another 6 weeks, that's at the end of its shelf life. And after that, if you don't have it after 3 months of this beer being in there, it's really going to get malty after that. So, but it's tasty. So Brandon, thanks again, my brother, for sending this one to me. A very nice Texas beer. It did make it slightly into the A category. So, very tasty. If you've had this one from Deep Ellum, their IPA, let me know what you think, guys. Let's go see what's in the fridge tomorrow.